What's up, guys? This is Bryce Van Hoosen. Welcome back to another episode of My Guitar Mods. Today we are going to check out this limited edition 2024 Jackson RR24 from the concept series, the Unofficial Alexi Laiho tribute guitar. Before we get started, if you want to support what I do here, hit those affiliate links down in the description. I'm now an official partner with Zounds. So if you're a fan of Zounds, which I am, as well as their 6, 12, or 18-month no interest payment plans on all of the coolest gear out there, definitely check them out. Get yourself something nice. They don't check your credit and they don't charge any interest on those things. So it's kind of a win-win. You can check out my guitar gear sanctuary by clicking the link down below and get links to all of the cool gear that I'm using here in my studio. And if you're a little bit financially strapped at the moment, kind of like we all are, but you still want to support, go ahead and click that link for a 2-week free trial to guitartricks.com. Costs you absolutely nothing, and I still make a small commission, even if you're not spending any money. But just by signing up for that free 2-week free trial, yeah, it gets me paid. So it really is kind of a win-win situation. Or simply by liking, subscribing, or sharing the video, man, that stuff goes a long way to kind of get the word out there and to keep the ball rolling here. All right, so with that out of the way, what you heard was this 2024 Jackson Concept RR24 going into my PV 5150 block letter, the OG. This thing's from 1994. I'm boosting it with the Obsidian Audio Devil Overdrive as per usual, going into a Boss CE5 chorus ensemble, the analog one, and then tamping the volume down just a little bit with this here Fryette power station. And I'm using two SM57s into this Marshall 1960B cabinet, and I'm miking up an Empyrean Audio Explorer LV speaker, which is a really cool kind of vintage 30 inspired speaker, but just a little bit different. All right, so let's talk about the mods and the changes I made to this thing. So as you know, this particular guitar was very inspired by the Alexi Laiho Stone guitar that was made famous on those early Children of Bodom records, which was a Jackson custom shop RR24 that he got from the guitar player in the band Stone, who are awesome and kind of an old school Finnish thrash metal band, so you should really check those guys out if you're not familiar. Rupe from Children of Bodom was also in that band previously. That's not who Alexi got the guitar from, but it's everybody's in a million bands, kind of like it is here in Portland. So yeah, I didn't make very many changes, but I did make a couple changes that I thought were interesting enough. So let's start here at the headstock. So the tuners, much to my chagrin, I have left the standard Jackson tuners. They're not locking, nothing like that, and I'm having to restring this thing the old school way. I still might get some locking tuners on there if I can find some that don't have the additional little screw hole thing like the Godos do. The other odd thing about these is that they put the tuners, they installed them kind of quite a bit lower than most Jacksons that I have or I have seen. So when you get things from different factories, sometimes there'll be these sort of little idiosyncrasies that are not consistent between all of them. So that's something that the Korean factory apparently has done here. Added the tools to the back, always really necessary if you're standing on stage and make a quick tuning adjustment, just grabbing a Allen wrench to kind of make that on the fly. A lot better than stopping everything and you know, trying to find like an Allen key set or something like that on stage. The nut, I left the nut the same, but I did lower it quite a bit. Something that I've noticed with a lot of the import Jackson and Charvel guitars is that the nuts are a little bit high, or I just really like a low nut, but I think my personal opinion is that the nut should be about as low as humanly possible to not, you know, hit that first fret when you're playing an open string. That way, you're just going to have a much better playing instrument just from the outset, right? If the nut is too high, no matter how straight you get the neck or how low the action is at the 24th fret or 12th fret or whatever, wherever you're taking your measurement, it's still, you're going to be fighting that thing the entire way. So my preference is to have the lowest nut possible. And cool thing that you can do with these Floyd Rose nuts is get a piece of sandpaper, go to your kitchen table, and just start sanding that baby. So that's what I did on this one. It took a bit of time to get it to work, but yeah, I did sand the back of that thing down, and now we're sitting at a really nice, sort of comfortable height here. Moving on to the strap buttons, I did put the Dunlop flush mount strap locks in here. Right, just low profile. You gotta drill a bigger hole to get them in, but they just, just look so cool not having the, geez, I can't even find it. That's how flush mounted and cool it is. But not having that little thing sticking out there, man, I love it. It just looks just like a hot rod, right? All right, moving on to the electronics. So this thing came stock with an EMG 81 and a little EMG afterburner pot that, is the push-pull pot that you could turn and add an additional kind of gain boost with the pickup here. I went through a number of different configurations and kind of decided that I didn't love the EMG, the afterburner, with the EMG 81, right? It just kind of didn't make very much sense, in my opinion, to have something that made the 81 just a little bit hotter. I don't know. You could sort of hit the front of an amplifier. Well, I should back up and say, especially because I'm usually using a boost in front of my amplifiers, you could run into an issue where you're sort of hitting the amplifier with so much just boosted output from the guitar that the front end kind of starts to sag, and there's a little bit of kind of diminishing returns there where you're not really getting anything out of it. So I'm able to kind of, load up the perfect amount of boost that I want with the Obsidian Audio Devil Overdrive, and just the fact that there's a, pretty hot active preamp in the 81 anyway. So that kind of gets me to where I want, where things are fairly perfect for me, at least. Where I think that that's different is I actually took that afterburner out and I put it into another guitar that had single coils in the necks so that I could sort of, with the flip of the switch, match the single coil neck output to the bridge humbucker output. That being said, there are still kind of a couple different little goodies in here. One is being this Tessie switch that I installed here. So this is essentially what is called a blower. So what that means is when you push it in, it basically takes the volume knob completely out of the circuit, and you're just going from pickup to output. Whoa, as you can hear, right? Volume knob, everything's turned down. I turn the blower on. There we go, bypassing the volume completely. So why would you want that? Well, I don't know, some people like Keith Marrow, local Portland guy, he really just kind of doesn't even like the volume knob at all and just uses a kill switch to turn it off or on. This kind of simulates that sort of fact. So you get a little bit of a brighter signal, which I find is really nice for recording. If you're spending a lot of time recording, just taking that out and then you get just pure signal straight from the guitar to whatever you're going into. All right, so additionally, I got a push-pull pot here where we can change between two voicings in this. I actually swapped out the EMG 81 and put the EMG 81 TW in here. So this is the version that allows you to pull in a single coil if you need it. So the way that sounds is humbucker. All right, getting a little bit of feedback because I'm sitting very close to a cranked amplifier here. So that's why you're hearing a little bit of that extra feedback coming. But this sounds really nice, especially with the one pickup sort of configuration. If I ever need to, go into a clean section, like with the Silver Talon song, Speed of the Night, that sort of thing, usually pulling up on that and making a nice single coil in the bridge kind of sound. So just a little bit of versatility from a one pickup guitar here. All right, and then an aesthetic choice is I swapped out the pickup ring for a metal pickup ring, and I actually put black screws in place instead of the gold one, just because I thought it looked a little bit more uniform, actually, with the entire kind of gold on black sort of vibe going on here. I saw a custom shop instrument somewhere on Instagram that had kind of the same thing, and thought that looked cool. Also, additionally with the release of the pure metal guitars that are very similar to these, they were just direct mounted, so there was no hardware or anything like that to kind of distract from the fact that, it's just kind of that black. You're not sure where the pickup starts and where the body ends, so I think it looks pretty cool. And then probably my most favorite mod that I've made to this so far is the Godot Tremolo. So I swapped out the Floyd Rose 1000, put in the Godot, I forget what it's called, like the 1996T or something like that, and man, this is my first Godot experience, and I love these things, and I definitely want to get some more in the future. These things are just it just feels like a really quality bridge when you pull it out, and because of the fact that the Japanese yen, I think at this point, is a little bit lower than the dollar still, knock on wood. You can get these for a really good price versus the Floyd Rose, which is up to like $250 or something at this point. You can still find these for some steals out there for a little bit over $100. So maybe I shouldn't be telling you guys this, but check out the Godot 1996 while you still can get them at a great deal. But yeah, everything with this, was just a drop-in replacement for the Floyd Rose. I didn't end up using the actual posts here because they just didn't fit. The bushings were a little bit too big, so I included I kept the Floyd Rose 1000 mounting posts here. So you literally can just throw this guy on in place of a Floyd Rose, and yeah, it'll work. Also added a D-Tuna here, and I will say another thing that I like about this, the D-Tuna with the Floyd Rose, sometimes it can, get its way under the fine-tuning area here, and you do a dive bomb, and then you come back up, and you're sort of, like maybe a half step out on the low E string, which never sounds great. But with the Godot one, man, this thing I feel like works the way that it should. It's an absolutely flawless operation, probably owing to the fact that the actual fine tuners of the Godot, they're tilted. They go back at a little bit of an angle, so that doesn't give this much leeway to, just pop itself back in there. So I've had no problems with the D-Tuna on the Godot Tremolo, which is not the same experience that I've had with the Floyd Rose. So yeah, big fan of this. And I mean, just looking at it and sort of like the fine little details on the Godot, yeah, I love it. This thing, it feels just quality through and through. I also like that the bar is quite a bit bigger, and it's just a push in, push out, or a push in, pull out kind of thing. Or it's quite a bit longer, I should say. So that lets you, you can manipulate the bar with a little bit more ease given how long this thing is. That being said, one thing that I do find a little bit annoying is that the set screw on the push-in bar, I do find it kind of coming loose a little bit. So yeah, I find myself having to tighten this thing to get it kind of back to where I want it, which is, I don't like this thing flopping around, but it definitely will if I, play a set and really kind of crank on the whammy bar. It's going to get loose and get all floppy, so nobody likes that. And then lastly, since this is a top-mounted Floyd Rose, I was showing you guys in the initial video, you can watch that, I'll link it in the card above. Probably should have said that earlier, but whatever. I did make this a dive-only sort of configuration, so there's a stopper in the back, and it doesn't go up, unfortunately. Sometimes things with drop tuning, using the D-Tuna, that sort of thing, it's just a little bit easier if you can just block it and have it only go one way. So that's only half the fun, but the utility comes in really handy sometimes. So there you go. All right, so let's listen to how this thing sounds. I'm gonna play around a little bit with this blower switch, and Tessie has a good diagram on how to install that and make that modification on your guitar if you're interested. But I also love that, you know, you can barely see it, just sort of a stealth little mod there. But I'm gonna play around with this in and out so you can kind of see and hear sort of the difference in having a volume pot in here and not having a volume pot in the circuit. Oh, we're in drop C here. Woo! All right, blower engage. All right. Not sure if you're able to hear a difference there, but I definitely in the room can kind of hear just a little tiny bit more top end coming from the blower being in. And yeah, you know, just less resistance from different components in the way of the signal is going to give you something that's a little bit hotter. So whether or not that's good is totally up to you, but it's a fun little cool thing to kind of play around. And yeah, I hate having empty holes on my guitar. So, you know, let's put something kind of cool in there. And yeah, there you go. All right, so there we go. A couple of quick little modifications that I made to this Jackson RR24 Concept Limited Edition. You know, if I was a smart person, I probably would have just left this thing stock because I think that they are kind of hard to find now, surprisingly, or I guess not surprisingly. Anytime you come out with a bit of a old school Alexi Laiho tribute sort of thing, it's going to sell out pretty quick. So yeah, especially this one that it was so close to the custom shop that he had back in the 90s, in the early Children of Bodom days. So should I have modded it from a purely financial standpoint? Probably not, but this is definitely something that I am more inclined to use live and solves, you know, some issues for me. So there we go. I am Bryce Van Hoosen. Thanks so much for watching. If you got all the way through this, know that I appreciate you very much, and I will see you again in the next one.